Hello. Oh my God. So much tech running at once. It's a weird, weird life. Hello, guys. Hello. If you're on Twitch, you're probably going to see me a little crooked. I'm sorry for that. That's just how it rolls right now. Uh, Green, who is calling me? Why are you calling me right now? I don't know what that's all about. Somebody is calling me on Discord. I don't know what that is. Okay. Hello. It's about that time. That's pretty cool if I'm honest. This one's cool. So we are live. We are going to be doing our DC Comics review, and oh my God, what a good week for DC Comics. We had a lot of weirdness happen in the industry. DC, as you know, right now is doing their or was doing their fandom. One of the things they announced was the return of Milestone Comics. Now, if you don't know Milestone Comics was it was an imprint by DC in the 90s that was basically it was a bunch of black superheroes in a world that sort of centered around black superheroes. So it was like DC Comics' answer to not representing people for so many years. Hi, Al. And it was super. They were awesome, really amazing comics. And I all of them were great, but you probably know one of them in particular, Static Shock, because it went on to be a cartoon, and he went on to become a mainstream DC Comics character, and you know there were a few others that I really liked, but the person involved in this Milestone project is for sure going to be Denys Cowan, who is one of my favorite artists around. What is with this little, like, we got a little gnat hanging out. Anyways, so I'm so psyched that Milestone's coming back and that Denys Cowan's going to be on the project. Super hyped about that. And yeah, so that happened. So we're going to start with his book probably first this week. Super amped about that. And that is the question. Now, of course, it's backwards. Sorry about that, but for whatever reason, it flips the image, and so everything comes out backwards. And I could tinker with it to fix this, but it just takes too much effort. So the question, this is the many deaths of Vic Sage. Now, Vic Sage has had a problem, and that has been that while he is the faceless man with the question, he has apparently lived a few lives and seen them in this past. He's been chased by a demon that is the many faces, and it is many faces, and it is pure evil and this and that, and it's been tearing up Hub City. He says he's the face of Hub City is one of the things. So we're gonna see this resolved. Now, one thing that really tripped me out about this and the last two issues was that it seemed like it was written for what was currently going on in our world. It seemed like it was actually involved or it was referencing the Black Lives Matter movement, and maybe they did that super quick. But I'm of the assumption, from what I think this was completed like well before any of this happened, and it just happened to sync up. Because we were like issue 2, I said it seemed like it was referencing stuff that was going on in the real world, but it was like a cowboy reference, but it seemed very similar. So I'm kind of tripping out about this, and I would like to know if they changed the way they were going because of current world events, and maybe that's what happened, or if they just sort of just happened to luck into it, and that's just what it was about. Because the last issue centered around like the cops killing an innocent black man, an unarmed black man, and went from there, and how the city spiraled out of control after that. And they touch on that, and there's a really touching speech about that sort of thing and not giving in to hate and everything else. So it was a really cool issue. If you haven't jumped in on it, I don't think you should jump in on the last issue. I think you should wait, either get it in trade paperback or go back and see if you can pick up some of the other ones. But oh my God, it was honestly one of Denys Cowan's, just some of his best work, in my opinion. It was amazing. So yeah, and Jeff Lemire, anything with Jeff Lemire's name, and Bill Sienkiewicz and Chris Sotomayor, it's a dream team right here. So this was amazing and delivered in every aspect. Now we're going to talk about the one book that pretty much everyone wants me to talk about this week, and frankly, I want to talk about it too. We get these nice playing cards to hand out if you pick up one of these books, and that, of course, hi Bubba. That, of course, is The Three Jokers by Geoff Johns. That's Geoff Johns, Jason Fabok, and Brad Anderson. And is it good? My God, is it good? It's so good. And I realized, again, this is Black Label, so I don't know if this counts as main continuity, but it feels like main continuity. It really does. And they reference the proper events and everything else.
The art style is the same.
Yeah, the same. So while the three Jokers are teaming up and being the three Jokers, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to spoil and tell you exactly where they're going with this. But there are three characters who are very traumatized from Jokers who are going to team up. And that I will spoil for you and say that it's Batman, of course. He's the focus of any of the Jokers focus on him. Next is Batgirl. And that makes sense perfectly because anyone knows her horrific plight with Joker. I mean, that story traumatized me as a kid, or as a junior high school student. So we know that. And then the last one would be Old Death in the Family, Jason Todd. And so Red Hood is in play in this. And it's so good. So good. It's got a crisis of morals in it. It's sort of hinting at where they're going. It's brutal. It's so good. Yeah. Al says Black Label isn't main continuity, and which is exactly what I thought. But I'm gonna tell you, it feels like main continuity, and you're gonna see it really does. Geoff Johns really went above and beyond on this. And it's so good. And what trips me out too is that we have the Jokers and the different their different forms and everything else, but one of them really does look like Jack Nicholson's Joker. Nice. He has this feel to it, and I dig it so much, dude. Oh God, this is amazing. You're getting it's $6.99, and it makes sense. You're getting a much thicker comic. There's a lot more story here. It honestly felt like I was reading a trade when I was pushing through it. It was good. And what happened in this was, I don't know. That's all I'm going to say. If you know me, you know which character I'm kind of a huge fanboy for when they belt out, and you'll know what I mean. So there you go. Next is Batgirl. This is the Joker War tie-in, issue number 48. And if you can't tell from the cover, James Gordon Jr. is in play there. Gordon Jr., the serial killer. Yeah, he's got problems, and he's trying to reform and this and that. Meanwhile, Batgirl had a problem in that the Joker, now controlling Wayne Enterprises, hacked her implant and was using it to infect her. So she pried it out of her own body and needs to get a new implant in place. So she taps an asset that she probably would rather not tap in an X called Luke Fox, and goes from there. I got to tell you this, that I really like that Luke Fox and Lucius Fox are in play and are doing a lot more than just being behind the scenes, because when everything crumbles for Wayne Enterprises, at least we have those minds that are able to pull tech pretty much out of their butts to save Batman and Batman's family. And it's good. It's really good. They're setting the stage for something bigger. And I have the sneakiest suspicion that all of the Joker War tie-ins are going to center around replacing certain people. You're gonna see what I mean when you get into these. But Red Hood and Batgirl sure seemed like they were sort of replacing certain people. So you're gonna have to see where it's going. It's good. It's great. Honestly, as far as Batgirl is concerned, I've not had the best time with Batgirl in recent years, but that one was awesome. And James Gordon Jr., God, Commissioner Gordon, in a lot of ways, while Commissioner Gordon is one of Batman's closest confidants, he's really just an asshole to his family. in a lot of ways. Like he's just not there for them because the job is keep Gotham alive. So and it shows. It shows. And there are times where I really feel bad for Junior, which I shouldn't feel bad for a serial killer unless it's Dexter. Next is Williamson, Deuce, Collins, Guerrera, and Hi-Fi, and that, of course, is the Flash 760. Now, the last issue had someone returning to form. Who was that? Do you remember? Do you remember who it was that appeared in the last issue?
No, I do not.
Jay Garrett.
Oh, that's
Yeah, we had the oldest of old school Flashes show up. Poor old Flash is being possessed by Reverse Flash. And you know how it goes. It comes with the territory. And the Flash family's got a sort of team. I guess, do we call them the Speedster family? They've got to team up and figure out what's going on. And good old Jay Garrick shows up. And it felt right. It felt really right. But I like seeing him show up at anything. It's like, oh, Grandpa's here. And Grandpa makes you feel warm and happy, you know, and he sits down, tells you the tale, and yeah, it was good. It was good. I had a good time with it. Not much to complain about. Honestly, if I had to nitpick, I would say that the art at times was iffy. At times, I don't know what it was. But you know, I'm an art snob, so we've been over that. But the story, as far as Flash stories are concerned, this one was top notch. I had a really, really, really good time with this. Thanks, Dale. It was really nothing to complain about. But as far as like Flash issues are concerned, like this one was just amazing. It was awesome. I will say that you'll get a funny scene in this, in that Reverse Flash is asking his Legion of Zoom to do something at one point in this, and they're like, you know. It's funny because you got Gorilla Grodd lined up with Turtle, with a few others, and they're like, you know, we're bad guys, but we draw the line sometimes. Like, it's so good to see. You're gonna see. I don't want to spoil it, but I really, really think you should pick this up this week. Next is Wow. I mean, we knew it was going to knock me off my socks. It's the Sandman universe, DC Comics Black Label. We're talking about Hellblazer. And I haven't hid that I've loved Hellblazer. I've loved the writing. I've loved the story or the art. I've loved everything about it. But let's talk about this issue in particular, because this issue is taking on the royal family. And not in a light way, not in a lighthearted way of like, oh, the royals think they're better than everyone else, blah, blah, blah. In the way that, hey, the royals have some serious like skeletons in their closet. One of them's been on full display in the form of, well, a certain prince who's running around with Epstein. They're going to tackle that in this issue. And they don't pull any punches. It's brutal. Fucking, excuse me for cursing, but it's brutal. And good. It's good. I worry deeply over the life of the writer that wrote this story because even John Constantine says, like, you know, they can make people vanish and this and that, but he wrote this story anyways, and it's awesome. It's so good. And I really feel like everybody should read it and really take a good hard look at the world around us. It was amazing. So yeah, pick that up. Next is Justice League Dark. This is V. What writer is calling themselves just V? Is that a misprint? Is his name really just V now? Okay, Justice League Dark. Apparently this is written by V. Nahalapan and Chung are the artists on it, and wow, it's good. It's really, really good. Zatanna has finally found where her father was being kept, and he's perpetually on fire, you know, like another dimension, and she's there to rescue him. Meanwhile, old Upside Down Man is still doing what Upside Down Man does, which is devouring magic, and you know, Wonder Woman's with her, but that's not the high point of this issue, okay? There is a character called the Spectre. And the Spectre, for old Justice Society stuff, I I guess I had known this character once upon a time, but I had forgotten it. And good old Chuck Surface was like, no, the Spectre. You need to look him up because some of his old Justice Society stuff is really, really awesome. So I looked him back up, relearned about the Spectre. I don't know. Brain damage is a weird thing. Maybe I just flat out forgot him. Swampy does something that's very Spectre-esque in this. It's brutal and awesome and totally unexpected. So you really, really need to read this issue. I think everyone should be paying attention to Justice League Dark at this point. The writing is great. The art is great. The story has had so many twists and turns. I mean, this is some of the best writing out of DC, and it doesn't get enough credit these days. So really go check out this book in particular. It's awesome. Next is Red Hood Outlaw, and this is a Joker War Collateral Damage issue by Lobdell Booth, Miki, and Prianto. And I have not hid that as much as I am a huge Red Hood fan, I've had an issue with the art on Red Hood lately, and I'm not sure what it is, but I'm thankful to say that this issue in particular is not like that. I had a pretty good time with the art. The art didn't feel as weird and disjointed as it has felt. We've got Red Hood. Well, he's gonna tangle with Punchline in this issue, and then on top of that, Brainwash, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, and it's brutal and fun and awesome. And there is somebody else in this that was well, she's kind of got a sad story and turned to crime, and you'll see what I mean. But it was a really, really good issue for Red Hood, and I'm a Red Hood fan and have had serious problems with a lot of the storylines lately. Speaking of which, where the hell are the other outlaws? Like all the kids he was training, they just threw that shit aside like 5 issues ago. It's just gone.
The Perpetual War, huh?
Yeah, they just set it aside, and I don't know where those kids are right now. They're just gone. Dark Trinity showed up, and then those kids just disappeared.
That is
it's weird, right? I don't know where they went. So that's a loose end. Maybe they addressed it, and I just missed the issue, but that's highly unlikely considering I tend to read everything Red Hood. I will say that as far as like Red Hood issues are concerned, this one was great too. Really, really good. All this Joker War stuff has been awesome, but this one in particular was just it was outstanding. Plus, I don't know, seeing it's painful seeing Grayson in this form, brainwashed by the Joker. It hurts. It really hurts. But if anyone's gonna tangle with the other sons of Batman, it should be Dick Grayson probably. So yeah, it's awesome. It's great. You get more Punchline, which seems to be what everyone wants these days is more Punchline. Next is an issue that we accidentally ordered too many copies of, and I think it's a good reason. Okay, I think there's a good reason for this, and I think we're gonna take those out of the overship box and probably put them back on our shelves and say everybody should buy this issue in particular, and that is the Teen Titans Annual. Which, if you can see, it says, I was Robin, and it shows Damian Wayne walking away from the mantle. And that's what this issue is. This issue is symbolic, and it is Damian Wayne finally deciding that maybe he needs to give up the mantle. Maybe it's not his path anymore. And we've seen it from all the other Robins at some point, except for Red Robin, which just sort of transitioned to Drake, which is that doo-doo brown suit that I can't stand. But he should go back to being Robin. Like go back to Red Robin.
Dope art.
Red Robin was amazing. Yeah. Damian as a Robin is amazing too. But we've never seen him go this route. I don't know what's going to happen here, but he very freely gives up the R here. So I think everyone across the board should buy this issue in particular because it's something monumental. And whatever comes from this, whatever form he takes after that, you need to buy that issue too. Because he's going to change. And I don't know. I have a sneaky suspicion that Damian, like, the things he says in this issue sounds a lot like Red Hood. It really, really does. The way they really are, at least in recent years, because Damian was actually
Nightwing's like for a minute.
Yeah, he was building his own prison. He was okay with killing criminals. He was like, well, if that's what's got to happen, that's what's got to happen. Go ahead and pull the trigger. he sounds a lot like Jason Todd, whereas Dick Grayson sounds like Dick Grayson and doesn't sound like Jason Todd. So he sounds more like Bruce, but Happy Bruce. Happy Bruce. So we're seeing some big change here, some big upheaval. Something is different, and you need to buy this issue. So we're probably going to take this out of the overship box and put it back on our shelves, and you should buy this issue of Teen Titans, honestly, annual. It will be on our website, and it will be in our store. Next is Suicide Squad, Taylor Sampier and Lucas, and that is, well, it's awesome, oddly enough. But I'm a little biased on this particular issue because this issue centers around a certain millionaire doing crazy things with his money that nobody can pin down and figure out and are concerned, and his name is Ted Kord.
Oh, wow.
Blue Beetle. Yeah. What's Blue Beetle doing with his money? I don't know, but people are trying to figure it out. He might be destabilizing a government. Nobody can figure it out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was really, really, really awesome. We also have some new characters that I don't really recognize. One with wings and another teleporter. They honestly remind me of certain mutants. But they're trying to escape like a prison. And well, it was good. It was really good. And as someone who is I'm not a huge Suicide Squad fan, and I think a lot of that contempt comes with the fact that Red Hood and the Outlaws was shelved like right next to Suicide Squad, and everybody was gushing about Suicide Squad when the movie came out, and I couldn't figure out why, but they were ignoring a perfectly great book right next to it. So, but that's my personal bias. I will tell you that this was a really, really good read, and maybe they're prepping to sort of like make things a little more similar with the movie when the movie drops. And if you haven't seen that trailer they dropped, you need to go see that. It was pretty awesome. Polka Dot Man is in it. Polka Dot Man, Batman's campiest villain, save for Condiment Man, which was in the animated series.
I mean, they got like heavy hitters like Nathan Fillion. They've got Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
And the original Harley Quinn.
But at least 4 of them die at the very beginning. Well, and Idris Elba's character, like Cam was like, I don't recognize that character. And I was like, I don't recognize that character either. Yeah. I wonder if they just made a character for him.
Because they try to leave Will Smith's spot open so that way he can come back later.
He can come back. Yeah. But, oh, man. It was the Suicide Squad trailer looks good. But anything James Gunn touches looks good, except for Twitter. James Gunn should stay the fuck away from Twitter forever. Everything else he touches turns to gold. Yes, James Gunn, please log off Twitter and never log back on it forever. Oh, poor old James Gunn. Okay, let's go on to our next thing, and that is the Legion of Superheroes. Yeah. Ooh, I don't know. I don't like a lot of this cast because it just feels like all these characters that I'm not invested into, they're just sort of thrown in together. But I remember, I did the Fanboy Planet podcast, and Rick Bretschneider seemed to be pretty excited about this book. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll give it another chance. I'll jump in on it. And, it's okay. I think it's just, I think the Jonathan Kent stuff, the Superboy stuff, like, I've noticed it too. Like a lot of guys from the generation before us super love the Superman stuff, and I think it's the Christopher Reeve Superman they grew up with.
Like when I was growing up, I was born in '83.
Yeah,
but we were still riding that Superman wave.
I was too.
Until I was like 6 or 7.
I was too, but then they had his dad before that. So like a lot of the generation before us super love Superman and Superboy. Like just and meanwhile, I'm a grim and gritty sort of Batman kind of guy. I have pain in my background.
Still, my favorite duo is Damian and Jonathan. That hands down is awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Making them age just totally messed up the dynamic.
Yeah, but okay. So yeah, Jonathan Kent in the future, and it's okay. He does find out that the Superman-esque player on the team, his name is Mon-El. The second he was introduced, I would have been like, Mon-El, how are we related, man? Like if I was Jonathan Kent, we were like, "Yo, what's up, man? You're flying around. Your last name's L. What's going on, man?"
It's a noble house name.
He
right
finds
there.
out he's his great grandson or something. It's like I was like, well, okay, I guess. I mean, seems tropey, but whatever. Like I guess. Okay. I knew it was gonna happen. You knew the second you saw him flying around, you were like, "Oh, that's a Superman for sure." Who's he? So they deal with that. There's sort of a confrontation in this issue, and then they're dealing with the usual legion of superhero stuff. It just feels like superhero soap opera all the time to me. What it feels like. Like there's this character, they have a falling out. These other characters are falling in love, and meanwhile they're trying to save the universe at the same time, and obeying the United Nations, the planet. But it feels soap opera-y, and I'm not invested in any of these characters, any of them. Even the Golden Lantern, I was like, oh, cool, new Lantern Corps.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to know about the Golden Lantern. They haven't explained him at all, just that he's the Golden Lantern. And like one character was like, oh, he's got a really cool backstory. And they never explained it. So I was like, oh, well, you
guys.
So, it's here if you want it. I can't fully recommend it unless you're really invested in that character, that story. Or if you're a big Superboy fan, or maybe the generation before us that really loves Superman that much more than we do, which has to be a lot because I do love Superman quite a bit. Yeah.
Even though I didn't like the Bendis run.
I don't like the Bendis run. And that was when I talked to Fanboy Planet, they were kind of shocked by that because they're loving it.
I know.
And I was like, I
can get it.
I've tried.
It's probably a generational thing.
It must be. Yeah. But I mean, I do remember Derek McCaw was telling me that he couldn't like handle Heroes in Crisis because it was just too dark and gritty.
Oh,
and
true.
And when I talked to him at a con one time, or at the con like a year back, I said that I loved everything Tom King was writing for Batman, and he just kind of like stared at me, and I was like, oh, he doesn't like Tom King's writing. Yeah. And so that gritty stuff and that dark stuff and that stuff like really appeals to me. But he said that I remember he said for what was it, Heroes in Crisis? He said that comics were escapism for him. They were fun, and it just wasn't fun. It was painful. And that's why I was like, that's why I love it.
We were foaming at the mouth.
Oh, so good.
We actually did a direct ship just for that book. We'd never touched it before. We were sure we had more copies.
Yeah. And that was, because the way he handled trauma was so touching.
Dude, the asides, like watching Superman sit there and go, who am I? Am I Clark? Am I? So am I L? I mean, Jesus.
And who was it? Lagoon Boy or something? Like his death?
Oh,
it was so painful.
I almost teared up.
Yeah.
Man. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, that's how it feels.
When we got to the end, though, I was like, I just got mad. Like, screw it. But like everything built up to that was amazing. But yeah, so next we're going to talk about Batman Superman, and this is the Williamson, Henry, and Sanchez. And wow, Ultra Humanite Unleashed. So if you can't tell, that's essentially like, I don't know, Brainiac Gorilla Grodd is how I describe him. Mm-hmm. It centers around the death of Atomic Head. I think is his name, Atomic Head. Atomic Skull. That's what it is. Atomic Skull. I don't know why. I always forget that guy's name. Centers around the death of Atomic Skull, Ultra Humanite, and it's Batman has been in Ultra Humanite's clutches. Is how the last issue ended. So it gets resolved mostly. I will say that the Atomic Skull character, like I don't know that character well enough, and I really did honestly like kind of laugh at a few of his lines through. I wanted to know a lot more about that character. So it was good. It was good. But this Batman Superman stuff has been really awesome. And maybe this is when I talked about like, the escapism of comics and some comics that are fun and some that are gritty. This one is really fun. Just fun, overall fun and lighthearted. And some of the like the way they resolve fights really feels like an old school style of comics. It's good. It's good. So yeah, Batman Superman, you should be on board with this book for sure.
Like at the end, you get a nice G.I. Joe PSA.
Yeah. So next is Tamaki Barberi Santarelli and Sanchez, and we're talking about Wonder Woman. But if you can't tell from that cover, that is Maxwell Lord. Do you know Maxwell Lord, right? Or do you don't?
I do not.
Maxwell Lord is kind of a bastard. I would say his power set is comparable to Purple Man from Jessica Jones.
Okay.
He can control people and stuff like that, and he's just a rotten shit. And that's sort of putting it lightly. And she finds herself, she's sort of got to team up with him. And it might be because there's a first appearance. Well, I don't know if it's a first appearance, but it's a first appearance of them as a villain, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm not entirely sure it's a first appearance. It might be, but you get to the end of this issue and you see it. So it's good, but it's centering around the fact that, Maxwell Lord released an app that was... then his company got taken over, Lord Incorporated. I can't remember what the name of his company was, but it got taken over, and now the app is controlling people because Maxwell Lord's a dick. That's just what you get to. So Wonder Woman's kind of got to team up with him to figure out what's going on. That's where you go. So it's a team up, but it's hero villain team up. It's going to be uncomfortable at times, and eventually Maxwell Lord's going to betray her because that's what he does. That's what he does. Next is Tomasi, Rocafort, and Brown, and this is cornered by Killer Croc, and that is Batman Detective Comics. But I'm gonna preface this and say that this, it's not super tied into the Joker War. It's sort of an off story from the Joker War. Killer Croc decided he was sick of the Joker War stuff and Gotham and everything else, so he just sort of went underground. And then the Joker flooded the sewers with Ace Chemical stuff. And some humans who were taking shelter in the sewer got infected in a very TMNT type way.
No.
It's a very Batman meets TMNT issue. And more importantly, it's touching. It was very touching. It's an issue that should feel like filler because it's kind of like the space between the Joker War right here. But it doesn't feel that way. And the way it ends is sort of kind of heartfelt between, Wayland and between Killer Croc and Batman. And it's right. And more importantly, it feels proper because Killer Croc as a character is quite complex. He's not just this character that is like, I just eat people and break people and cause trouble and just want to live in a sewer and stuff like that. There's so much more to him as a person. He's a person who was never really born with humanity. He's just been seen as a monster, but he's had to find his humanity, and that's always been his struggle. And this issue in particular touches on it so well. So yeah, it was great. It was honest to God one of the best books of the week. So you should really go pick up this issue of Detective Comics. Next is Batman Beyond. It's Jurgens, Jen Parsons, and Sotomayor, and I haven't really dipped my toes in Batman Beyond in a while. I've never been a huge Batman Beyond fan. I know that's fighting words because it's got Kevin Conroy as old Batman in it, and it's great and stuff like that. But it was never really my jam. I'm not sure why. But this one, you get Batman Beyond, you get Batman or Batwoman Beyond, I guess, and the usual suspects, but in space. Yeah, in space again. So, is it good? I mean, it was okay. It was an okay read, but again, I'm not a giant Batman Beyond fan, so I'm sure there's some Batman Beyond fan out there that is like, you son of a. So like it was good. It's not usually my jam. So when I review these books, I'm like, it's okay.
Generational.
It didn't start out as a comic.
No, that's probably why. Because you would have been high school or graduated already when that cartoon came out.
Yeah. So like if it started out as a comic, I tend to bond with it. Mm-hmm. If it didn't start out as a comic, I have issues with it. And keep in mind though, although Harley is a character that I definitely love, and she didn't start out from the comic. She started out from the animated series. So there's always exceptions.
Always.
Next is Entertainment Weekly Superhero of the Year, and that's the House of Kent Chapter 3 Superman Action Comics issue 1024. And okay. Again, I feel like I'm trampling on some very respected people's franchise. because Fanboy Planet was all about the new Superman stuff from Bendis. And Bendis, Romita Jr., Jansen, and Anderson, I'm still having issues with it. So we still haven't resolved old Red Mist. She's still at play. Connor Kent has come into the fray, which I love seeing Connor Kent coming back. I'm happy about that. Running around with Superboy and Superman and old Brainiac, I don't know, Mark 7, whatever the new like human version of Brainiac is. He's in this too. So it's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of cool, and the way it's written, like the super family coming together and stuff, is awesome. I can't get over the art. Romita Jr.'s art just drives me nuts. It's not my jam. But again, art snob. You know what you get from me. I'm a huge art snob, and if I don't bond with it, I don't bond with it. That's just my take on it. So if you are an Action Comics fan, I will say there is a lot of action here. There's a lot of fun. It was written well. I was interested in it, even though I really don't like the Red Mist character, and I wish they'd resolve it already. It was pretty good. I thought Red Mist was being set up to be a villain for Naomi, is what I was hoping. It was not. Yeah, or she was not set up. Yeah, but it's okay. It's just, man, that story's been going since before old Event Leviathan. So it's been a long time coming. Like, just resolve it already. Get rid of it. Well, okay. I don't mean get rid of it. Just resolve it. Like, either arrest her, reform her, do something with that character.
Other than stagnation.
Yeah. Okay. Next is Amy Reeder and Marissa Louise, and we're talking about Amethyst. And I still stand by my statement that if you're gonna tell a story about Gemworld with all these colors and bright lights and everything else, you need to get Jen Bartel in, at least on the covers. Like, it still feels like a missed opportunity. Keep in mind, I'm saying that as someone who is really critical about art, but has loved the art in this story. I really honestly have. I think who is it? Marissa Louise has done a wonderful job in drawing this or drawing the story. The art is amazing. The characters' facial features are really, really cool looking. It's very descriptive and beautiful. I mean, some of these panels I would almost want to blow up and put on the comic shop walls at times. So I've liked the art. I just want Jen Bartel's like flavor on this character too. Like, I want to see like a cover.
Speaking of Jen Bartel, just finish this FOC. There's one coming out, a variant cover that's going to blow your flipping socks off.
Okay, you're saying it is it
it's a Jen Bartel
for what publisher?
I think it's a Marvel.
I think it's a Marvel. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, okay. I'm a huge Jen Bartel fan. Amy Reeder, I thought it was being looked up last issue, and I guess it wasn't. There is at least one more issue, I can tell you that. But as far as it, Gemworld is a weird place to tell a story, and I think they were starting to tell it like a fairy tale, and then it went off in another direction, and it's been fun. Like, I have little to complain about, but it's just Gemworld's a weird place. where I'm going with it. Gemworld's a weird place. They've told a pretty good story so far, and although the last issue I was like, well, I'm not really sure where it's going, kind of deal. This one kind of hooked me, and the big twist was like, oh, okay, well, that's messed up and very not fairy tale like, and I'm comfortable with that, So yeah, it was good. I'm gonna wait. I think the next issue there's gonna be some giant monologue that like knocks your socks off, because it feels like the writer is setting something up. I want to see where they're going with this, but we'll see. If there's something moving at the end of the next issue. Otherwise, I would say all of the Wonder Comics stuff is pretty good. You can pick those up and have a good time with them. There's not much to complain about there. Yeah. Even the Wonder Twins was amazing. But the guy that wrote that is the same guy that wrote Snagglepuss and Flintstones. And that guy is amazing. I can't remember his name right now. Sad news. We do know that the DC Comics Black Label is coming to an end. Is pretty much, I don't even think it's rumor now. It's announced that the DC Comics Black Label is coming to an end. Why? Because somebody at AT&T seems to feel that comics are not for adults.
Literally what they said.
Literally what they said, I guess, which is dumb because we've grown up with it. And clearly AT&T, you guys have no clue as to what a gold mine you have in your possession having DC Comics and how you are abusing us fans when you could be delivering so much more. So
95% of our customers are adults.
They're all adults almost, yeah. So AT&T, what are you doing? Get back on board. We thought you were doing such good things when you hit us with Lunar, which is an amazing company.
Yep.
Like we thought you guys were going above and beyond what other owners had done, and instead, no, you're just squandering DC Comics, which is scary to me.
I think you called it another gem on the Infinity Gauntlet for Disney, man.
Yeah, maybe. I honestly, like, if Disney bought DC, I'd be ecstatic because Disney's super, like, you're right when you say that Disney's good about letting brands stay their brands and still just controlling, like, from afar.
Yeah.
And that's what I want here. Like, I want DC to stay DC.
And AT&T
AT&T isn't cutting it. And they're gonna. I'm sure Derek McCaw pointed it out, and I'm inclined to agree. They're gonna take the logos, the brandings, the heroes, and everything else, and they're gonna throw it on a million AT&T products. But they're just not going to deliver what comic fans want, which is more books and better books and stuff like that. And they've shown it. They trimmed a third of the staff. They gutted DC staff.
Absolutely
Gutted it.
Yeah.
So
at the time where like everyone's trying to watch out for one another, like, hey man, you need help here. Let me help you out. Here's DC Comics. Hey, you're fired.
Yeah, it's painful. And I didn't agree with their move to ditch Diamond and go to Lunar at first until I got those Lunar packages, which are immaculately packed and all our orders are correct, and it's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's like a functional shipping company. So I'm fully on board with Lunar. I want to see them succeed, and I want to see DC Comics succeed because I'm a huge DC fanboy. So if anyone knows an executive at AT&T whose ear they can pull to let us tell them how we feel about what they're doing with the DC brand, let us know. I would love to speak my piece. And I guess that's our show for this week. I don't think we have anything else to go on. We're going to do Marvel tomorrow because all our Marvel and indie stuff has yet to show up. We'll do it tomorrow, and so we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Yogi wearing the mask. I need to go put mine back on. Bloop. Bloop. Your what dance?
I don't know if I can say his name out loud.
What?
The L-I.
Oh.